Hello YouTube! Welcome to this video in which I'm going to be looking at 3 things that I don't like about the Positive Grid Spark. Now I've only had this for a few days, getting on for a week. I've only really been using it just with the guitar plugged into it, haven't done too much with the app yet. I'm planning on doing some work with the app over the weekend, which will be quite nice. So not a lot to say about that at the moment other than I've looked through the app and it looks really nice. Now I do want to qualify this video. I love this amp. It is really, really nice. It has a nice tone, it has good volume, it has some fantastic features, and I am really, really, really pleased with my purchase. But online there are quite a few people that are asking for real reviews. Let's call them real reviews. There's a perception out there that a lot of the YouTube videos saying how wonderful the amplifier is are from, really experienced guitarists that, well, I'm not going to say what people are thinking, but this is just a beginner's view of this particular amp. I love it, but the 3 things. But firstly, a couple of niggles before I get into the main 3 things. Number 1 is delivery times. Everybody has talked about delivery times and probably enough said about those. But I had the amp a week ago and still no bag. How hard can it be to get 2 things aligned? In fact, it would have been nice if the bag had actually came with the amplifier. Now I did get a warning that they would come separately. But come on, how difficult can it be to get a bag? And that is a bit of a niggle for me because I would have liked to have taken the amp to my lesson on Wednesday, but I didn't because I didn't really trust the strap, but we'll come to that in a minute. The other slight niggle was that when you hook the unit up to your laptop to record music, and I did do a video on this, the system doesn't go out and find the required driver from the Positive Grid website and even try and download it, let alone install it. It's all down to you to do that, and it's not overly clear, and quite a lot of people have struggled with that. And I did a video on how to configure the system for Reaper. I'll link to that above if you're interested in doing that. But yeah, you've got to go out and you've got to get the ASIO driver and you've got to really know what you're doing. So if you're technically minded, it's not too bad. If you're not technically minded, then it can be a bit of a hurdle. So I think that could be tidied up a little bit, but 2 little niggles, nothing really to write home about. So the first 2 things that I don't like about the Spark, and the first one is really unfair of me, but my iPad. Now, my iPad, I had an iPad 1, and very quickly I ended up trading that in for an updated one because I couldn't run a number of applications. This is an Apple thing. It's something I really hate about Apple stuff, but you just got to keep digging into your pocket. Now, I've had this iPad for a few years, admittedly. I can go up to version 10.03 something or other. But it won't run version 11, and the application requires iOS 11, which means this is useless. I've got to throw that away, and I've got to stump up another few £100 for a new iPad, which isn't going to happen because that then doubles the cost of the amplifier. And fortunately, I have an iPhone 8 which I can run iOS 11 on, so I'm going to be running it from my phone. Not necessarily ideal, but I'm only using this in a practice environment at home, so it's workable. If you were going to be using this for maybe a small gig or something, you're going to need an iPad. So or an equivalent tablet that runs Android. So what I would say is just bear in mind that you need to have an iPad. I don't know so much about Android, don't know too much about Android, but certainly with the iPad you need to be running 64-bit version of iOS and 11 or higher. So that's my number 1 gripe. My number 2 gripe is the strap. Now, the strap always felt a little bit Mickey Mouse to me. I mean, the rest of the unit is really well made, it's sturdy, it feels good. the strap never really felt great to me. Quite plasticky and just not really in keeping with the unit. And I did look at taking the strap off, and thankfully you can just unscrew the 2 screws at the side, and it's finished reasonably nicely without the strap. So that is something that I will be doing, is removing this when my bag eventually arrives. But I did notice after taking the strap off a couple of times that you have like a black plastic outline, I don't know what materials they are, and then a white inner. And even that is already starting to separate where you've got the cutouts for the mounting screws on the side here. So do I have any confidence in the strap? No. Have I looked online? Yes. And some people are already complaining that the straps are already starting to give out. So it's a bit of a shame, because like I said, the unit is really well made in itself. And I think it would have been nice to have had a better strap. Now, I might be doing the strap an injustice. Hopefully they've done their testing and it's probably fit for purpose and it will last a lifetime. I just don't particularly want to trust that, especially as I'm going to be lugging this up and down the stairs, and it is my intention to take it to my music lessons, although I might drop back to the Black Star Fly 3 for that. I'm not quite sure. We shall see. So again, come on, let's have my bag, and then I'll stop griping about that. And then the one massive thing that I think I can say is something that I was aware of and I have seen on Reddit and a few of the other social media sites. And that is that when you are moving the first knob from, like, you know, clean to classy or something, the volume change is huge. I mean, really big. So for instance, if I just play, forgive me, I'm going to drop back to REM again, and I'm sitting down, so it probably won't work very well, but I'm on clean. So that sounds reasonably okay. And if you're in a gig and you're gigging away, you know, that's a nice volume. Then you drop it around to, let's say, Class C, the next one round. Whoa! The volume difference is horrendous. It's massive. Now, I know the obvious option on that is to drop down the volume and then just try and get it where you want it. But maybe if you're in a gig, you just might want to have, you know, an even sound. I mean, goodness me, you imagine that you're at a wedding or something and you're playing background noise and somebody comes up and says, oh, could you just play this? And you think, oh yeah, that would be nice on Class C, and bang, and you wake up the whole room. Oh, it would be horrendous. And then if I go round onto crunch, okay, I mean, that wasn't on full volume. That was low down. If I put that to the full volume on my guitar that I had for clean, let's just drop it back down to clean. Drop it round onto crunch. And you know, you've really got that volume kicking out. And if I go up onto high gain, you know, I barely go near the strings, so I need to turn that right the way down. So this is very, very, very little volume. So I think in a gig environment, you're going to be chasing the volume quite a bit. Now, whether that can be addressed on a firmware update, whether that is by design, and whether professionals would turn around and say, oh, that's quite normal, you know, get used to it, I don't know. But certainly for a beginner, that did throw me a little bit. And I tend to just work on Class C all the time. And in fact, if I go round onto crunch and I'm full volume on the guitar, then you know, a lot of people talk about the hum. Now that isn't necessarily the hum, that is actually picking up my strings vibrating. Because if I mute the strings, there's no noise whatsoever. And if I come round onto high again, there's nothing. And as soon as I come off the strings, then you're getting quite a bit of feedback there. So you've got to take your volume down and then just bring it back up until where you want it. So that's just on my neck pickup. If I drop it down onto my bridge pickup, then it's absolutely fine. So again, that's just, you know, something just to bear in mind when you are working between the modes. For me personally, I would prefer that the volume was leveled, and that way if I want more volume, I can just crank it up on the guitar. If I want less volume, I can crank it down on the guitar. You know, the amp could well be several feet away. It might not be sitting right next to you. And then you're into some other way of managing the volume on there. And like I said, some people have commented on this that are taking the amp to gigs. So anyway, that's just my three things. Number one is the iPad. Let's just turn this off for a minute. Number one is the iPad. Just make sure that you're able to run 64-bit if you want to have it on a bigger screen. The strap, well, like I said, maybe it is going to be okay, but I just haven't got the confidence in it, so I'm going to be whipping that off. And the volume is the biggest one for me, and maybe there is a solution to that, in which case, you know, please comment below. But otherwise, I absolutely adore this amplifier. It's brilliant. I love it. I've got a friend coming round for a jamming session later on this evening, and this will be out and we will be jamming with it. We may well even be using the Jam app on the app on the phone. Who knows? So I don't think these are big enough issues not to opt to buy the amp. Like I said, I'm really pleased with it. But those are just three really petty things. Maybe the volume one's not quite so petty, but those are three really petty things, and probably the only three things that I really don't like about the Spark. So I think from here on, any other videos about the Spark are going to be positive. At least that's the way I hope it's going. Anyway, hope you find this video useful. If you do, please consider subscribing if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the like button and the bell button for more videos like this coming very soon. In the meantime, look after yourself, stay well, and I'll see you again on another video coming very soon. Take care, bye bye.